And now Syria's deputy envoy to the United Nations has strongly deplored the U.S. missile attack on the country, warning that it could further embolden terrorists.
This treacherous act of aggression is a grave violation of the Charter of the United Nations, as well as all international norms and laws. This aggression would surely send erroneous messages to those terrorist groups, emboldening them to use chemical weapons in the future and to continue perpetrating terrorist acts against the Syrian civilians.
Munzer told the UN Security Council that terrorists launched various attacks against Syrians following the U.S. aggression. He's called missile strikes a continuation of Washington's years-long strategy of support for terrorists. A Syrian diplomat has further rejected the U.S. allegation that Syrian government forces launched a chemical attack in Idlib province on Tuesday. Munzer says that Washington leveled such accusations in a bid to justify its aggression, reiterating that Syria's military does not possess chemical weapons. Munzer's Russian counterpart has also condemned the U.S. military action. Here he is.
We strongly condemn the illegitimate actions by the U.S. The consequences of this for regional and international stability could be extremely serious. This attack was a flagrant violation of the 2015 memorandum on preventing incidents and ensuring security during air operations in Syrian airspace, and the Ministry of Defense of Russia has stopped its cooperation with Pentagon under that memorandum.
Vladimir Safronkov also said the West is afraid of a genuine investigation into the recent suspected chemical attack in Idlib. Russian envoy criticized what he called international double standards, saying that Syria's complaints of chemical attacks by terrorists are totally ignored by the international community. And meanwhile, the U.S. envoy to the UN, that is, threatened further military action in Syria if needed.
We expect this council to speak loudly and forcefully when the regime or its allies undermine the political process, and countless of our own resolutions. The United States took a very measured step last night. We are prepared to do more, but we hope that will not be necessary.
And Nikki Haley said the U.S. missile strikes were justified. She accused the Syrian government of having frequently used chemical weapons during the conflict ravaging the Arab nation. Haley claimed that the Syrian government carried out the latest attack because it thought that Russia would have its back. A Security Council meeting was called by Moscow following the attack. Russia's defense ministry says it's notified the Pentagon that it will close down communications line used to avoid accidental clashes in Syria. And now joining us for more on the story out of Washington is Mr. Michael Springman, American author and former diplomat. Hello, Mr. Springman. Thank you for joining us on the program, sir. Now, your thoughts on how fast Washington, or should I say the White House, because they totally bypassed Congress here, launched this attack before the conclusion of a probe behind Tuesday's alleged chemical attack in Idlib province was taken.
Well, that's absolutely correct. The American government apparently is in the control of neocons, militarists, and Zionists. Any normal, stable, legitimate government would have investigated what was going on, would have known that it has been backing terrorists in Syria for years, as well as in other countries. And this business of Trump now believes the White Helmets, which is a group that works only in terrorist-controlled areas of Syria, and supposedly was treating all of these nerve gas people with their bare hands and bare faces uncovered, is insane, because these people did have sarin gas in them. Breathing the stuff, being anywhere near the stuff, would have killed you. So it was basically another propaganda operation, just like the documentary that won the Academy Award in Hollywood. So it's the colossal arrogance of Nikki Haley in the United Nations is unbelievable. She said things like, how many children in Syria must die before Russia cares, which is all too much like Madeleine Albright's comment, the former Secretary of State's views on 500,000 children dying as a result of American sanctions in Iraq. She claimed that, oh yes, well, that's of no consequence. That's sufficient. We don't really care about this.
And that's the irony there. Donald Trump seemed really shaken up when he said that he saw images of, quote, kids, children. These are kids getting killed. Yeah, the same thing happened to Palestinian children, 550 of them in just 50 days back in 2014 as a result of Tel Aviv's aggression there, if you remember. Yet he's one of the staunch supporters of Tel Aviv, and well over twice that many children have perished in Yemen alone since March of 2015. We don't hear anything about the children there, do we? Why?
Not a word. I mean, the Israelis use phosphorus, white phosphorus, which can't be put out once it touches you. The Americans and the Saudis have worked together to create such a mess in Yemen that 80% of the country is in dire need of assistance and are on the verge of mass starvation. But we don't hear one word from Nikki Haley or Donald Trump or anyone else. All they do is shed crocodile tears about their terrorists who are getting pounded in Syria. And they are absolutely out of control. It's been 6 years and Assad is still in power. And the Americans and their client states, I hesitate to say puppet states like Germany, France, Britain, and Japan, all applaud this vicious attack in violation of the American Constitution and international law. It is remarkable how these people have blinders on when it comes to something that they themselves or the Americans have done in the past and will likely do in the future. Haley, in fact, is threatening more attacks on Syria, and the American Secretary of the Treasury, Mnuchin, is going to put more economic sanctions on Syria. I mean, they want to create another Iraq, they want to create another Libya, and they're doing a very good job of it.
Thank you for your contribution to the program, Mr. Michael Springman, joining us out of Washington, American author and a former diplomat.